So welcome everyone. I'm so happy to see this place full because I'm still used to be 4 years in Singapore, and while the 4 years in Singapore we had like 2 people, 5 people, 10 people. So seeing so many people in one room, it's exciting. That's the normal. So my name is Yuval Pasov. I lead the Google for Startup in Israel. And just to let you know a little bit where you are sitting. Anyone haven't been here before? Okay. Hi. I want to see it's very high. Okay. Who have been here before? Okay. There is lots of people that did not decide. So that's good. That's good. Maybe it was late at night. So Google for Startup, the mission is to leveling the playing field for startup around the world. And in Israel specifically, we focus on underrepresented groups that are women, Arabs, ultra-Orthodox, and founders from the periphery. Thank you. It's a little bit. Thank you. And I think that what's we're doing a lot of things. So we have here it's mostly focused on pre-seed and seed. We have programs for later stage and growth stage, and we have the cloud programs that more in terms of credit and so on. But specifically here, if you go around the building, you will see a lot of the women founders that participated in one of our cohorts, and it's very important for us kind of like to change the mindset that you will see more women entrepreneurs. We do a 3 months program that will start in March. So if you have any amazing friend that's going to start and raise some money, please let us know. We will give them, the relevant mentors, the relevant tech from Google, and I think that some of the relationship that we just started during the 3 months program, they're going actually 5 out of the 9 startups actually sitting here at the 4th floor. So we give them the space. And beside that, we have another important project again from Michal Sela Academy, which is 9 tech startups that are will prevent violence in the family, and the goal will be to get to 0 cases of murdering women. And we are again hosting them. We have mentors and so on. So it's like really giving the impact. And when people ask me, what do you get? What your OKR? So in the end, my OKR is to just have founders that will grow their startup, will raise money, and just to make sure that they will, be successful. And there is other department in Google that they will make, the ads, the cloud, and so on. So for this building, it's more about giving the impact back. And the last thing is in Q4, we are going to launch the first ever health program. So it's called Growth Academy Health. And we're going to have collaboration with Fitbit, so the co-founder of Fitbit, president of Verily, Google Health, and just trying to get the best of Alphabet in the health space. And maybe later on we'll do a growth academy for Web3, but that's probably in the baking still. So again, action item, if you have any good startup pre-seed, seed that are interested and it can be relevant for them, you're more than happy to connect with me on LinkedIn. It's great to see everyone here. And I'm now glad to invite CP from CapitalG. I'm very happy that we are able to host this event. I know that they have a very packed schedule, so you're the lucky ones, because I think that there are 300 people on the live stream, right? So you're the quick one to register, or the VIPs. So yeah.
Thank you, Yuval. I'm not sure. I think I'm the lucky one here, but well, it's great to meet you all and welcome to Google. I'll do a 1-minute commercial just on who I am, who CapitalG is, what we do, and I'll talk more specifically around why we're here and things that we're looking for. If it helps to direct you guys in terms of directions of companies you want to build, or just in general where you see opportunities. So CapitalG, by way of quick background, is Alphabet's independent growth fund. We invest capital to help remarkable entrepreneurs such as yourself, who are leading what we consider transformational companies to really accelerate the growth of your business. So with a deep understanding of growth stage businesses and our unique access to the insights and expertise of Googlers, really, we think we're pretty uniquely positioned to help advise entrepreneurs on how to overcome the challenges of scaling And there's a lot of them as you go through that journey. And we were founded in 2013. Fast forward 9 years, we've done 55 investments, so we're a pretty concentrated portfolio. We invest about $1 billion a year. Our average check size kind of anywhere between $20 million to $50 million. So we usually invest at the point of product market fit. So that could mean different things if you're working on consumer applications versus your own enterprise software side. We've had 16 IPOs. We've had 8 M&A exits. So we've consider ourselves, we've done pretty well so far. So it's a little bit more about Web3. We really, CapitalG as a fund started to zoom in and out of crypto since 2017, but it really wasn't until last year that we felt like, crypto is going to be a thing. Like it's more likely than not that crypto will stick around. And so last year, really, the current team came into sort of the formation. We have 3 investors on our team, which is 10% of our headcount, just in terms of where we're allocating time. Like I'm one of those 3. I help lead that effort. I spend 100% of my time in crypto. So we're all in, right? Like we're not bothered by, all these news you hear. I know there's a lot of news that happened last night. I'm sure it's top of mind for folks. But we try to kind of take a builder mentality of like, hey, this is an exciting technology. People are still building the infrastructure. And eventually there will be success, even though the industry goes through these boom and bust cycles. So does all that make sense before we move on? Okay, great. Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads. So in terms of what we're focused on right now, so the 2 portfolios we've had in crypto, the first one is DCG, Digital Currency Group, which is really a conglomerate in a crypto space. They own, prime brokerage firm Genesis. They own Grayscale, which is owns GBTC, the largest Bitcoin trust. But it's more of a conglomerate. The second investment we made was Fireblocks, which is actually Israeli company. Across the CapitalG fund, we've had more Israeli companies. We've invested in Armis, Orca, Salt Security, and Fireblocks, obviously. So we're very impressed with the entrepreneur community here. A lot of energy, a lot of talent, and so we're very excited to be here. Okay, so I think getting to the more exciting part. In Web3 right now, we're spending time in 3 major areas, is how I would describe. The first is developer tuning. So as a engineer or developer going into the space, you'll find that the tooling available in the space is vastly underbuilt relative to what your experience might have been outside of Web3. And so that's an area that we're seeing a lot of startups come up, a lot of companies start to kind of take market share, and a lot of product market fit kind of signals start to emerge. The second area is really crypto security, and that's the theme for our trip this time, which is really around this concept of, there's a lot of vulnerabilities in Web3, a lot of attack surfaces. We sort of take the view that it's almost impossible to try to fix every one of those vulnerabilities, and sort of take the traditional cyber mantra of let's just focus on detection and response. So that's what we're looking for. We're talking to all the exciting companies that are being built in that space. So that's really the theme of this trip for us. And lastly is we're spending time around the infrastructure. So that could be cross-chain applications, because there's a lot of blockchains. People need to be talked to each other. And there's what we call scalability solutions. So layer 2 solutions, ZK EVM, some of this like terminologies that you'll probably hear about. But basic idea is like blockchains today are not scalable. They can't, if 100 million people join Web3 tomorrow, they wouldn't be able to handle that traffic. So that's what, those are big problems still remain unsolved in Web3. And we're very much looking forward to the talent who will join and help, really solve these problems. So with that, I'm gonna hand over to Faye, who will, tell you guys what's the next next step.
Thank you. Just one more housekeeping thing. If everyone sees middle seats in between them, if you can move in towards the middle so folks can sit on the outer seats a little bit more comfortable. And we also have seats upstairs, and hi everybody upstairs. Thank you for joining us. So just make sure we're all there kind of moving in towards the middle. I want to invite up now Adam from Collider Ventures to give us a little bit of an overview also about what Collider focuses on when it comes to crypto. Thank you, Collider, for partnering with us on this event. And yeah, kicking us off.
Hi, everyone. My name is Adam. I'm the GP of Collider Ventures. But before that, let's address the elephant in the room. What happened in the last couple of days? I can tell about the people who are in Web3 right now and the people who are in Web2. The Web2 are happy. They came here fresh. The Web3 are just looking at the phone. What's going on? Where's my money? But this is really what's the source of why we are investing in Web3. I mean, Web3 is fundamentally different from Web2. It just removed the intermediary, the middleman, and build infrastructure that basically is completely trustless. So basically what happened yesterday and last couple of days with FTX and Alameda, but also happened with Celsius and Entrée Capital and many other protocol and companies in the last couple of years, basically is kind of solved with Web3. And obviously it increased and introduced new challenges that we're trying to tackle now and we're investing in. So first of all, Collider Venture is a fund that's been around since 2018. We have around $150 million asset under management. We have two ways to invest today. One is Horizen Labs, which is an incubator that invests at the earliest stage. You have an idea, you're an entrepreneur, nothing else. We help you with ideation. We take you through the rabbit hole. We connect you with other investor entrepreneurs, help you with product market fit, go-to-market strategy, all the way to raise your first seed round. And then we usually put more money through Collider Ventures. And Collider Venture invests in company at the pre-seed, seed stage, sometimes even post-seed, pre-series A. We usually invest between 1.5 to 2 million, $2.5 million. We lead rounds, sometimes we co-lead with other investor. And we just support our entrepreneur like any other fund. About Web3, so like many people said earlier, and you'll hear from the panel here, there's a lot of things that needs to be rebuilt in mind because Web2 has created what we believe is basically monopoly and centralization, many problems that we're seeing in the last couple of years. I personally believe that why Web1 was amazing because it introduced decentralization, open protocol, and basically built what we know today. Web2 basically came in, build a great user experience, but also introduce centralization up to the point where big companies like Apple, Facebook, and many other platforms are basically, yeah, I know I'm here, but we have to say that, and I try to be true to my core belief that it also stop innovation in a way that basically it's really hard today to build on other platforms, and Web3 kind of solves that. So without further ado, we're moving to the panel, right? Have a great day. The Web3 folks try not to focus on what's happened in the last couple of days. This is something that we need to learn from and solve in the next couple of years. And good luck to everyone. And Tomer, thank you for your partnership.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. So, yep, without further ado, I will invite our four panelists, Yaniv Nissenbaum, co-founder and CEO of Hexagate, Daniel Keys, co-founder and CEO of Sepana, Lior Keren, product manager at Max, and Liat Aronson, co-founder and COO at Horizen Labs. And by the way, we will maybe have some time at the end for FTX and Binance questions, but I think that we will stick to the original plan. So we will start with Yaniv and Daniel. So maybe both of you will need a microphone. So both of you are second and third time founders from the Web2 industry, now building Web3 startups. Daniel in the field of search engine and Yaniv in smart contract cybersecurity. So the first question is, what do you think are the main differences between the Web2 and Web3 ecosystems that founders should be aware of when building new startups, new companies?
So, hey everyone, great to be here, and it's really nice that we have this floor upstairs. So coming from, I will talk with you about the differences in go-to-market and business coming from, business leadership. So when entering the space, there is something that, at least for me, it was kind of, a new thing. Everything around, foundations, protocol, DAOs. you are basically talking many times with people that are undoxed, meaning you know what undox is, what it means? So basically, so everyone here in this room, you have a LinkedIn, you have a name, everyone knows you by your name. So undoxing is like people that, you know, you don't have their identity. You're meeting with someone and you're meeting with an NFT, really like on Zoom, you have an NFT picture. They don't have like a real name, but rather like a pseudonym or like their nickname. And they are your champion. So think, you know, coming from traditional like selling cycle. So it's totally different thing. You need to understand how you're talking with them. You need to build a relationship with them. It's not really clear who is the persona, how you're going to sell to them, how you're going to move in this organization, which is, for example, a DAO, right? So this is a huge difference that it is challenging in the beginning, but when you're grasping how this organization works, everything becomes easier. Another thing that when we are working with like a DAO or a foundation, so there is this notion of grants and proposals that are basically governed by the organization. So for example, when you want to sell to an organization, you can leverage grants, but then everyone, so let's talk about what grants here is. It's basically similar to when you do like a grant with the university, right? In essence, it means that everyone in the community will have the visibility of your proposal, of your thoughts, of what you're doing, including your competitors, right? So this is, again, a new way to think how you can build, how you should build your business and how you should sell. So this is like the difference and the challenges. On the more easier side of things, like doing business development, is much easier in Web3. Like this is a vibrant place. It's like live 24/7. Everyone is like, even like the prominent companies are 5 years old. So they were startup just, you know, around the corner. Everyone is building, especially now in this bear market. So there are endless opportunities to build collaboration, to think about how you can build like, to collaborate what you're doing with another company. So this is like one of the best things that I love in this space, coming from business development and building partnership. And as founders, I think that you should take these two differences from Web2, and I think leverage this when you enter Web3.
Daniel, thank you. By the way, I just think that, you know, no one actually cracked yet the right way to engage with DAOs. Like when you want to enter a partnership with a company that is based on a DAO, you actually need to propose a vote for it, which is like very uncommon in Web2 ecosystem. Yes, Daniel, please.
Yeah, hello, everybody. It's great to be here. Given the news from yesterday, I might need all of your help migrating back to Web2. So I'll keep you updated. But no, I think for me, one of the biggest differences that I've seen between working in Web2 and Web3 is that there's really just no roadmap in Web3. I mean, it's such a new industry. In Web2, we kind of had 20 years to understand the business models and the technology, the infrastructure that works, but really everything is different, where your code is deployed, where your users are. I mean, for us, we're building a decentralized search infrastructure. And if you think about classical search infrastructures in Web2, they're very siloed. They live in their own kind of walled gardens in their databases, right? You go to Twitter to search for tweets, you go to LinkedIn to find people. You know, even if we think about Google, the platforms today, like Facebook and the social networks, they control their content. So Google doesn't actually have really great visibility into the content that's created. If you want to search within a Twitter thread or find content in TikTok, you usually have to go to those places. But in Web3, the underlying data is open source. So you can actually build search that goes very broad across many, many different data sources and then goes deep into each individual one. And then you can open source that because, once again, the data is open source. So you don't have to kind of build according to the business models that previously have been done in search. So it kind of opens up this entire new vista of how to do search and discovery, how to build, you know, personalization, privacy first recommendations. So I think the difference here again is that the, you know, kind of limitations that we would see in Web2 actually become these really, really powerful vectors of innovation. And you get this entirely new space to innovate in, and that's it's a blessing, really. Web3 is this tool that gives us the ability to kind of look back on the internet and say, what can we improve? I think everyone kind of on the stage and everyone I've met in Web3 has this fundamental belief that the internet, although amazing, has pretty serious flaws, and that it's not the end of history. We can take a break and try to fix and improve on some of the underlying building blocks of how the web works.
And I think one of the big opportunities, you alluded to it, is the idea of this business model. I think one of the things that's broken in the internet is the idea of business model, whether it's giving stuff for free and giving your data for it. So that's one of the things that's being kind of hacked and worked on, but it's really, really a wide open space. So very exciting to think about all the opportunities and all the great startups that are trying to figure it out. So I think business model is also the key.
Thank you. Yeah, and also specifically in DeFi, I think the idea of permissionless integrations is, and the network effect that it creates is something very different from Web 2, where you can build a product which is based on other products and services and create this interoperability without asking anyone that you want to connect. Thank you. Lior, so you're working in a Web2 company, Max, which is a credit company, and you recently participated in, I think, one of the most interesting crypto project in Israel, as far as I can tell, because I hold the credit card of the Max crypto with a Bitcoin cashback. So when you started, like, what were the first steps when engaging with the crypto company like Bits of Gold, and how did you kick off this process in Max?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank everybody to be here. Let's start from the end. We launched the first Israeli credit card that connect to crypto account. The first Israeli crypto card that connected to crypto loyalty program. So that's the end of the answer. A lot of people can think that the major thing or the first thing that traditional credit card company, Web2 company, which is good to be nowadays, would attack this subject is by anti-money laundering perspective or regulatory perspective. But we try to do it the other way. And the other way is to find out what is the best value proposition to our clients. So we launched very big market research with Visa and MasterCard in Israel and abroad. We tried to look and to understand what is the best value proposition for our clients. And the major thing that we learned from the market research is that we need to look at two different groups. The first one is the tech savvies. Most of the guys here already know what Web3 is, already know the Web3 applications. Most of us bought crypto already, and that group want us to give them value proposition according their monthly spending. The second group is practically the opposite one. The former guys, not tech savvies, have heard about the crypto world, would like to enter it, but needs us to guide them through the process, through the beginning of the process of entering the crypto world. So we launched the MaxBet crypto card, which connected to crypto account that opens in Bits of Gold. And for the first group, the tech savvies, we gave fractions of Bitcoin according to the monthly spending as miles. Okay, you can look for it as miles loyalty program in crypto. And for the second group, the foremost, which is the biggest and the bigger group, we offered an easy way to enter the crypto world. We try to simplify the way that they can enter by easier KYC, easier onboarding. And in our thought,
entering the crypto world should be as easy as ordering new credit card, or as easy as swiping a credit card in the shop. You don't really care, you don't really know what's up in the background. It's supposed to work. And this is how we try to look at the things at Max and at the product department.
So you're speaking about the
Sorry.
Give me that one.
Oh, so all that background, like dancing, was
Yeah.
I thought that the
disco going on.
okay, yeah.
Sorry.
I thought
All right.
no problem. Great. So yeah, I thought that there was a party outside or something. I wasn't sure about the bass. Yeah. And so yeah, it was me. So basically you're speaking about the seamless blockchain user experience.
Yeah.
But that's like maybe the main thing that product managers or stakeholders in Web2 companies should think about.
Yeah.
We can also manage in Starbucks, for example, right? So they launched an loyalty program with tokens or NFTs, but everything is seamless. The user doesn't really know that he's engaging with anything related to blockchain. Great, thank you. Yeah, moving next to you. So let's speak about tokenization. Yeah, usually when we speak about blockchain, we think also about crypto assets or tokens. And you led one of the most interesting projects, which is ApeCoin, the token design and the launch. I also had a small part of it at eToro. So do you think that every Web2 company that is now engaging in the blockchain ecosystem should also think about launching a token? And maybe also, does every crypto project should have a token? Yes or no? And regardless, if someone decides to launch a token, what are your main takeaways from past projects for tokenomics?
So absolutely not. We don't need a token for everything. And in our advisory business, we are getting a lot of inbound that are asking about, oh, we want to do a token to do this, this, and this. And really what it is a loyalty program that doesn't need Web3, doesn't need a token. I think, so right now there's a lot of hype, and so there will be a lot of tokens out there that shouldn't be tokens. And because the answer is no, I'll skip to the yes. Projects that do need tokens are ones that can really use what is great and exciting about Web3. So to the extent that there is a peer-to-peer element without a central kind of mediator, to the extent that there's a real product market fit between the offering and the engagement of the community. So very, very similar to kind of the Web2 environment. If you just launch something, let's say on Kickstarter, and just hope that, and maybe in the first days of Kickstarter, but then it became, if you just launch something and just hope that people come, they won't. So if you're going to just launch a token and hope people will use it, they won't. If, on the other hand, you have product market fit for whatever it is that your project's doing with a very active and vibrant community, then a token may make sense. And I think ApeCoin is a great example of that, because way before the ApeCoin launch, and it's still, the cards are still out and there's still a lot going on, and really they haven't, and when I say haven't, it's the Bored Ape Foundation, haven't maxed out on everything of their offering and their promise. But what they did start out with, the Bored Apes Yacht Club, with a very engaged community and a very cohesive community. ApeCoin came to service that community and to be able to broaden it. So that made sense. So again, if there's a peer-to-peer element, if there's a very engaged community, if the product requires something that a simple database can't solve, then something to think about. And again, the tokenomics, I think, is also really important. There has to be an economic underlying of what would be the value to the utility token, to the governance token, to whatever it is that is being launched. So if there's no economic viability to it, then it doesn't make sense. And I think it's really exciting times, because I think that ability to then be able to trade between tokens, go beyond a kind of a closed metaverse world to an open metaverse world is really exciting, but still very, very early days.
Yeah, and we've also seen it in the gaming industry, or the blockchain gaming industry, where the token business models were not exactly figured out yet, although people thought that they were. But it is, I'm not sure if it's trend or just a challenge, that every startup that wants to launch a token now needs to get an economist with a PhD, like a famous economist with expertise in risk management, just to launch a token. But I guess that's
Or you come to Horizen Labs.
exactly.
Ventures.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
So I got a microphone, so
You can speak.
I can speak. So I think, at least the way that I see it, tokens basically provides or allows you to build incentive and business models with an open community. And if you have an open community and you want like different participants and provide different participants different incentives, so tokens means provides a lot of like logic, and you need to build it. But in the end, it really depends on what ecosystem you are targeting, how you want to build that, how do you see the participants and the entire business model working together. It's basically like a flying wheel. So again, it really depends on the project, as you mentioned, really depends on the economics. And it has its own flaws, but we can talk about it for hours. So we have only 1 minute before you're talking. So so that's my perspective.
Yeah, I think I would just also add one more thing about tokenomics, which is I agree that not every company needs a token, but I think that the companies that do have a purpose for tokenization, it's this really magical tool that allows you to build open source software in entirely new ways. So traditionally, if you wanted to build open source software, if you wanted something to be free for the world, you would put it out and then alongside provide customer support, which worked very well for a very small amount of companies, but it really limited the types of projects that could be open and kind of serve the world. And what tokenization allows us to do is build these tokenized networks around services that previously you would have to, wrap up into a B2B SaaS model or something like that. And so it has this power to turn what previously were contributors into owners, and to create this community around the underlying business and what they can do. And I think that there's some very good examples of this already out today, like Filecoin or Arweave or the Graph. It's kind of the model that we're running with as well at Sepana. And I think it has the promise of allowing projects to stay open source longer and to build a really vibrant developer ecosystem around that, and hopefully kind of bring more and more software into what will ultimately be this kind of open stack that everyone can have access to and iterate and improve on.
Just to add, so I think the distinction, so I was answering your question from the Web 2 perspective, and I think you're going straight to the Web 3. And I think that's a really important distinction. So if you're a Web 2 company and you want to issue a token, I'm just giving it the example of the Bored Ape Yacht Club, because essentially it's a media company with a kind of a art meets membership experience. And that's very different than ENS or Sepana, where what you're really doing is on an open source platform, finding an alternative way to create an investment vehicle and be able to have peer support for creating technology. So there's a big distinction. For both of them, tokens aren't necessarily the right thing by definition, but there are different use cases for both.
Understood. Thank you very much. Moving on to some more general questions. So what do you think are now which opportunities are still out there for founders? Like, what pain points have you encountered lately that you can advise?
So first, there are so many opportunities out there. Like, we're basically scratching the surface, right? If you're thinking about the first principles of blockchain, coming from value storage, value transaction without an intermediary. So founders can find so many opportunities by just taking traditional services and implementing their own blockchain. Again, really depends on the first principle, value transaction and value storage, the way that I see it. In my perspective, coming from security and what I'm seeing a lot in the market is basically ease of use, transparency, and security. And the way that I see it, so if you will have the right user experience for different users in the ecosystem, if you will have the right security guardrails in the ecosystem, in the end, you can see it as people or users will get ease of use and peace of mind. And it will basically open everyone to the endless possibilities of blockchain, and also, of course, unlock so many use cases around Web3. So this is what I see. And in essence, I will put it like this, like the way that I see it, like luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And I think that today, like crypto founders are so lucky. There are so many opportunities out there. It's like thing that happen like once in 20 years or even once in a lifetime. So just grasp these opportunities and build on top of that. And we are in a bear market. It's the best time to build. And that's it.
I think the biggest opportunities are today outside of finance and outside of DeFi. So I think there's this kind of emerging world within Web3 that basically looks at our online digital life and asks, what's wrong and what we can make better. And I think specifically our social lives are going to be turned kind of on its head by the forces of decentralization and the types of user experiences that you can build in Web3. I think we're beginning to see that a little bit now with Twitter and kind of the takeover there. But kind of fundamentally, I think people should be able to own the content that they create online. And I think Web3 is the best tool I've seen today at trying to build that. So I would encourage people that are kind of interested in reshaping our online lives to take a really, really good look at kind of every aspect of what happens there, and to ask questions like why can't we own the content we create? Why are the algorithms that dictate what we see and how we see it hidden from us? All of these things can be addressed by kind of embedding Web3 into how we use these tools. And so I think that's going to be kind of the next frontier that we see over the next few years.
Yep. And then it's content ownership and also data ownership, right? Like owning the data of our identity online. Yes. Leo. Yes.
I want to focus on the first part of the journey of the customers. Okay, the onboarding nowadays isn't that simple. The easy way is to look at your client as a tech savvy, as I mentioned before. The early adapters, they're easygoing. Okay, it's pretty easy. Try to focus on the big part, on the formal groups. Okay, as I mentioned before, try to simplify the way of the onboarding. To simplify the way that they can enter your platform or any platform. Okay, it's not that easy to newcomers to come into the Web3 world and application without being a tech savvy like all of you here. So try to focus on the start of the journey. That's my angle.
I totally agree. I mean, I think that the first touch points of newcomers with crypto is still a big challenge. Writing down a 12-word seed phrase is a weird experience, and using MetaMask is still weird, and doing all the onboarding funnels, even of centralized exchanges, is tough. Yep, and reading Etherscan, like reading a blockchain, trying to understand what the blockchain transaction is, doesn't make sense, right? Like when we wire money through our bank, we don't really see the code of the bank or of Swift. So,
but don't you think that I think that's where we're at right now, because it's the fundamental building block layer, and founders who are in that layer will see it just like in early internet days. None of you know anything about your ISP provider. You don't have any idea how email. I mean, some of you are tech savvy enough to know it. I have no idea how my email gets from me to you when I send it on the back end. And I think there in that future, and this really ties to what Daniel was saying, we also won't know about the blockchain backend, and you referred to Starbucks, which is a perfect example. So I think the opportunities are on a few layers. There's the tools, tech layer, there's the customer facing layer, and everything in between. And I think the world, if you're looking for an easy onboarding, then the gaming world, entertainment world is probably an easy place to have a lot of opportunity where, there's one step up. But I really connect to everything on the panel here. I think everything that we do online and in the internet today, there's an opportunity to think about, could this be better? Could this be more incentivizing for different participants in different ways? And could it be made more efficient or safer or more inclusive with Web3?
Thank you. So moving to the next question, and maybe some tips about where do you learn about Web3 on the day-to-day basis. Like I wrote about it on my LinkedIn last week. I think that it's becoming really almost impossible to understand what's going on, right? Like 2 weeks ago, FTX was the the king of the crypto ecosystem, and today we don't really know. Yep, we have a new king.
An old king, that's a new king.
Yeah. So is it like going to conferences, although it's also impossible because there are dozens of them every year and in very exotic places like Bogota? Is it newsletters, Twitter, YouTubers? Like, how do you spend your time learning and trying to keep up the pace?
So Twitter. This is where everything happens. Luckily, I have my co-founder Niv, which knows everything. So I'm basically drinking.
So find the right co-founder.
Everyone
Really
should
good
have a Niv in
co-founder.
his,
That's a good idea anyway.
Yeah. But mainly Twitter. And like you need to leave this space. You need to get into the rabbit hole. Just enjoy the ride. Fall in love with crypto, and then everything will. You will know everything. I think that conferences, it's less around, learning, but rather, building the relationship, meeting with people, and then they will, like, for example, everything happens on Telegram. So you just meet someone, you open a group with them, you start discussion, and then when they find something interesting, so they just send it. So you build a community around you, and that's where you learn everything.
So even though I agree that it all happens on Twitter, to me, it's such a noisy, time consuming, and I'm already so deep down the rabbit hole anyway. So it's not like I have more time to go into another tunnel on the side. I think I also have the good co-founder solution. It's a good one. That's a really good one. And then there's a bunch of newsletters that come into my email. I kind of skim through them. They usually highlight different things that happen. And so I find that very effective way to kind of condense a bunch of all day in Twitter. So I might not be the most updated person at every given second, but then there's all those Telegram, WhatsApp, Signal groups that fill those in.
I've heard that everything's happening in the metaverse now, so I usually spend 8 hours just with an Oculus on my No, but I think Web3 is kind of the bleeding edge, and so I think to really understand it, you have to spend time on the edge. And so there are all these very quirky kind of out there communities that are being built. They're not as, they don't have good UX. They're not as friendly as kind of the social networks that we might spend more time on. But you have new blogging platforms that are decentralized, social networks that are run on blockchains. And so I think it's really important to understand this space, to spend time there and kind of spend time in Mirror and DSO and GM.xyz. And there's a bunch of others, but there's kind of no replacement to just kind of being with that community on the ground.
I stuck in traffic a lot. Okay. So podcasts are the best things for me. I'm a big fan of Moshe Radman. I don't know if you know him. A founder, owns very good podcast that summarizes all the things you need to know about Web3. It's called a Digital Tech Business. Very good podcast.
Yep. I love Moshe, very down to earth. And I would also add, I think that the challenge to keep up with all the information is that crypto is a very multidisciplinary industry. Like you need to know a bit technology, you need to know business, economy, philosophy, And this is why it's hard. Like one day you need to learn about, I don't know, leverage trading risk management, and the other day you need to learn about encryption and zero knowledge, and the third day you need to learn about, you know, yes, IP rights. That's, yeah, exactly. So, and I think that this is the hardest challenge when entering the space. Like you need to really open your mind. Great. So moving on to the last question, and then we can open it for the questions from the crowd. So yeah, a classic one, like one piece of advice for the founders.
Put your seatbelt on.
Try not to do everything by your own. There are a lot of good companies out there. Try to locate the best company that completes your value proposition, as we did with Bits of Gold. 1 + 1 is supposed to be 3, not 2. That's it.
Learn about taxes, I would say. It's
Number one.
no, it's important, but also very
That's not
different.
personal advice, now
Yeah.
business advice.
Get
a good lawyer.
Yeah, but it more than just kind of understanding. It's a really good lens into kind of understanding how this world works and how governments and different people see this world, and kind of the different actors that have in it. So yeah.
So become a crypto native. Again, get into the rabbit hole. You need to fall in love with this. Like you need to live it 24/7, and then everything become clear. So this is my advice. And on top of that, so if you're a founder, found a legal counsel that when you tell him foundation, he know what it means. It's not that easy in Israel.
Interesting. Yep.
And you can spend so much again.
And maybe
so much
I
time
can
and
add,
money on that. And
yeah, I can add that most of the people in this industry are nice. So just reach out to people, set meetings, and learn from each other. Yes, Faye, to you, how do you want to manage it?
People on Zoom hear me. And we're going to be moving to the stage again of Q&A from the audience. Ask anything. We want to contradict what they've said. We want to argue with them. We want to push back. We want it to really be an actual, really helpful Q&A conversation. That's why we end our events early and open up for a decent amount of Q&A. Again, those of you on Zoom, I don't know which camera to look at. Those of you on Zoom, there is a Q&A box. I'll be checking it periodically, so please send in those questions there. I'm going to be walking around with this mic so that we can hand this over to questions. And just one more thing about questions. We don't really want to hear your entire life story right now. We want to hear it afterwards, but not the second. So keep in mind that when you're asking your questions. Thank you. Questions here?
Hey guys, Daniel Zaburo, founder of Bix Labs and co-founder of MetaPay. 2 questions regarding to tokenomics and capital regarding in Web3. So we came from Web2 that is centralized, all those things, and came to Web3. And one thing is, how do you think that really capitals should be involved in Web3 when we want to be less centralized and much more decentralized? We are right now CapitalG and other companies, and Web2 companies came up to Web3. So are we going to see again that kind of centralized DNA? And second thing is about economics. How you think that, is it important that investors will be involved with token launch? Thank you.
I think that question was for me, and maybe you can phrase better the first one, because I'm not sure that I understand what you mean by capital. Venture capital. Yeah, then maybe you can repeat it later. But regarding the first question, the second question, as I said, tokenomics is a profession, and it's not necessarily the profession of every VC, and not necessarily the VC should assist you with the tokenomics design. I think that, as I said earlier, basically the best advice is to consult with more than one expert economist when you do when you build the token design. And can you repeat the first question?
Yeah, I will repeat it with an example. Let's take, for example, Yuga Lab that came up with fundraising with the ApeCoin. So Yuga Lab came as a Web3 community that driven by the community. And we see that when they come with the fundraising, with the tokenomics, so the last announcements that came out from Yuga Labs was like, this is our official Instagram. So we came up with a DNA as a Web3 that came up with innovation, creative, different things that came up from the community. And when we have VC, as you know, VC of like much more direction to their own interest. And we see from Yuga Lab example that things, the attitude and the direction of the company was changed. Now, my question is, I don't think that is bad, but my question is, venture capital should be involved in Web3 or not? If Web3 is much more decentralized, want to be with the community holding, and that's my question.
Now I understand. Yeah. So you're speaking basically there is a spectrum of the company organization between decentralization and centralization. And I think that within this spectrum, if the company is totally decentralized by using with a DAO structure, the VC is still relevant and might be relevant as any other investor that can help and contribute to the DAO. It's just another contributor to the DAO. And basically that's also it also applies for Web2 companies, right? The VC, the stakeholder in the company, and supposed to help the management to steer the company in the right way, whether it's business and strategy. So I don't think that there is a real difference in the sense of the role of the VC within a company, if it's decentralized or not. I do agree that there is still uncertainty around the legal structures of Web3 companies, right? With an LLC and a foundation and a DAO and advisors. So there is still, and maybe Liat can, you can elaborate about the Yuga Labs organization. I know like it is complicated. Okay, it's complicated and it's not solved yet till the end.
I think if we go back to the earlier distinction between coming up with a technology project and raising funds for it in a decentralized way, that's one thing. I think in the Yuga Labs example, Yuga Labs is a company. It's a VC funded company, and they are the creators of something that they put out into a community. Now the community is run by a DAO. Yuga Labs is part of the DAO. And the investors through Yuga Labs would be part of the DAO, and they could also buy coin just like everyone else and be part of the DAO. And they can put proposals out, and their proposals get voted on, and some of them will be accepted and some of them won't. So in the Ape community, the Ape coin community, it's run by a DAO and not by Yuga Labs. On the other hand, Yuga Labs is a company. It's a little bit different than ENS, for example, as an example, like a tech project that has a completely decentralized user base. But we could take that offline too. But I think your distinction was a little misleading on that point. My personal view on VC is that I think it's really interesting that you guys are hosting this. I think it's going to be very interesting how VC evolves in Web3. And I'm involved in a DAO of venture capitalists that are working as a collective to do investments. What I am saying in Web3 on an investment perspective is a lot more collaboration between different VCs, which I think is going to be for the good.
I think that, think of this just as a vehicle to provide resource to a company. And along the years, you see in the past 5 years, they tried like many ICOs. There was a lot of scams there. So we are now in a market that evolves. And I think with time, we'll find like the right vehicles to build these kind of companies. And also you can't build a DAO from day one. Everything starts with the centralized organization, and then they spin out into a DAO. When they build a community, you don't build a community in a day. and you need to have resources to foster these kind of companies. And this is just one vehicle.
The Google team here would like us to use their Google Box. This is topical. It is a microphone. And we're question. I saw one here. Oh. There we go. Turn it around.
Hello.
There we go.
Wow, this is different. Speaking to a box. Thanks for the discussion. Really great pointers. I want to kind of ask questions about identity in Web3. We all know what identity means in Web2. We have our Twitter identity, we have our emails, we have our Facebook, everything is separate. And you kind of spoke in the beginning that when you jump into the Web3 world, you speak to NFTs. You don't really know the person that's in front of you. So I want to ask you guys, how do you see identity in the Web3 world? What it will look like, what it should look like? Thanks.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think it'll be portable. So right now, our identity is something that is defined by a very few large platforms, and it's stuck within those platforms. So you can't take your social graph from LinkedIn and port that over to TikTok. So I think identity will become this thing that's kind of as digital and as dynamic as the life that we live today, especially in the kind of new digital nomad world. So yeah, that would be my my point.
I would think about attestation. Like in the end, what is important is attestation. So not everyone should know your identity, but you should be able to provide attestation about who you are for specific use cases. And I think this is one of the big promises of Web3 identity.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes,
It's kind of,
I have to say, it
awkward.
looks funny.
yeah, it's kind of awkward to talk to this. A lot of associations. So what Web2 forums usually ignore is the world is Web3. If you look at the amount of people involved in Web3 in total, let's call it 100 million, and I'm being optimistic. And my question to you is, how do you see this reaching critical mass when all the gateways are still controlled by Web2 companies, and Apple, Google, and to some extent all the others are blocking Web3 under pretense of crypto is bad or whatever? So how do you see that actually happening?
So we've seen it a couple of times in the past. There is exponential growth between the cycles, between the bull runs and the market cycles. And I think that within every cycle, you see the gatekeepers basically lowering the walls. And I don't think that there will be gatekeepers. I think that they, eventually they will be the one that will open the gates for the masses to enter. And just in this bear market, you can count at least 10 huge new enterprises that are working on enabling and offering crypto to hundreds of millions of clients, banks and BlackRock, for example. So I think that you will probably be able to measure it in the next bull run and see the impact of the current enterprises that are building in the space.
I think maybe just to add quickly, I think adoption will actually come from identity, because I think, the honest truth is that most people don't really care about finances. Today, most people can, trade on the public markets, and very few do. So at the other end of that, how many billions of people are on social networks and care about their lives there and want to spend more or less time on it. So I think kind of the creation of decentralized identities and the ability to kind of use the advantages of that will be kind of one of the main things that bring the next millions and millions of people into Web3.
Look at the gatekeepers, for example, Visa and MasterCard. Okay, totally gatekeepers. Okay, they have to own their business. They're launching more and more products and programs towards Web3, towards crypto. So change start easily, okay, step by step. You cannot do it by jumping from one step to another. It takes time. Look at the Israeli market. Bits of gold over there just got the permission from Bank of Israel last month. Okay, it took how many years? 5, 12, okay, 10,
probably.
okay. It takes time.
So may I ask a rebuttal / follow-up? And pardon me if I'm direct. I don't think Visa and MasterCard are the gatekeepers. I think that they're utilizing it because it makes sense to them. I think that most people don't care about their identity. Most people would not care about what the technology, I think Liat says that. Nobody cares. I mean, some people care, but most people don't care that it's blockchain or Web3 behind it. They care about a new service that provides them with something new. But for them to hear about that service, to make that interesting, the gatekeepers that I'm mentioning, the technology companies, specifically Apple, because Samsung and the other OEMs are a little bit more open to that, don't like crypto. And despite the fact that CapitalG is investing in crypto, Google is not very open to putting apps that are around Web3 in Google Play. So how do you see that changing?
Yaniv, do you want? Oh no, I mean, I won't.
It will just happen. Like, no, really. Like, think about PCs when they started, or vehicles. Like, of course, you have with any new technology that is going to take someone out of business or might harm their business. Of course, they are gatekeepers. Like, think JP Morgan a few years ago. No one can do anything with crypto. Now they are, yeah, let's do crypto. What? It will just happen. It's a matter of you will have use cases that will go to the masses. You will have mass adoption, and then, of course, as Liat mentioned, no one will know, like in 10 or 20 years, what really blockchain means. Is you don't know. Most of the people here don't know what TLS means, right? And everyone relies on it on the internet, right? So again, it will just happen.
And I can also add that blockchain and not crypto, let's say, as an industry, is a general purpose technology that no one can actually stop. It's like stopping electricity or something like that. I don't think that any company in the world will be able to, destroy this industry or the concept of blockchain.
Hi. Instead of using the word gatekeepers, I wanted the panelists to maybe tell us if they're already using or invent a new word for this world. Because 20, 25 years ago, people said no one will ever advertise online. It will only TV and print, and God we know. And then commerce, of course, I will go to the mall and to the stores first. And Amazon slowly grew, and many others. You can think about the world of not shopping digitally with digital currencies and all that. We never called them gatekeepers back then. I'm old enough to remember. But what we did is we built companies that became the leaders of the new way. So I wondered what each of the panelists think are the ones who are those, okay, that will show the way for those what you consider now gatekeepers somehow transform or collapse or disappear. Give us some examples of the leaders.
So Edith, I think perfectly well put, and I think that's exactly it. It's not so much about the gatekeepers; it's about the companies that are finding a way that will inevitably make everyone have to play along. And I just think it's a matter of time. And I think Tomel mentioned it. This is a bear market. There's a lot of things that are happening under the surface that maybe we don't know about, but they'll come up, just like I'm also old enough to know that 20, 25 years ago, when PayPal and many other companies that grew out of another, a different macroeconomic environment that was also very challenged. So I think, there's going to be a lot of that.
American Express and QPass, PayPal didn't exist, right? I can show you many. Amazon grew as commerce of books, but knew right away that they will do a lot of things. They didn't know about servers, but they knew about a lot of other things. And they grew on the system that was new. I was running a similar company like that also for learning, for kids, for families. And yes, there was Nickelodeon, Nintendo, and Cartoon Network back then, and they thought that they were owning commerce and advertising. And of course, it's not the case anymore. So who are the ones today, the 4, the 5, that are born on the new system, that are leading the way, that can inspire all the founders who are starting to kind of do the same?
There's a brand new
Sepana.
company. There's a brand new company that's working on this. They're called Meta. It just came out, but they're building the metaverse. No, but I think some of the winners are already among us. I mean, like, you know, we take Ethereum for granted, but what they've done is absolutely incredible and kind of paved the way. And so many of the companies that are building real value are kind of based on that infrastructure. So that definitely, I would say, is okay. Challenge accepted. No, but I think you know, you look back just 5-6 years ago, and that wouldn't be the name that you would mention, right? And I think that the kind of power of building this as a decentralized movement is shown kind of through what they've done, especially kind of post-merge. The idea that you can do something of that magnitude with the tools that they used is frankly mind-blowing. And I think, you know, it's still very early, and the winners change almost daily, as we've seen yesterday. But I think there will be kind of frontiers in infrastructure specifically. I mean, we're working on search, so we really believe that will be a kind of frontier of decentralization, and the benefits of being able to search across every single data source and kind of open source that to the users will be revolutionary. But yeah, it's still early days.
And you know, I think that, you know, the tomorrow's winners are today's outliers. It's really not, you know, from my point of view, it's really not professional to try to forecast which one will win the next round. Like we saw OpenSea. No one would ever thought that OpenSea will grow so much when NFT had no use case, basically, except for CryptoKitties. So we can't really know. And also, I remember just a few years ago when there was basically no application on Ethereum and Uniswap was launched, no one could have thought that Uniswap will grow so big. So it's really hard to tell.
I would also just make the distinction, because you did mention OpenSea. So there are decentralized builders like Ethereum, and then there's a lot of infrastructure platforms that are built around it that are not necessarily decentralized, and some of them give a bad name to this whole industry, like the news that we're not discussing. Is actually much less Web3 and much more unregulated, centralized. Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Much more relevant, much more reminiscent of that.
Hi everyone. First of all, thank you. This is a great panel. I got a small question. We've been talking about Web2 companies moving into Web3. And there's another side to that coin, which is investors. Investors are also moving into Web3. And from my personal experience, I got to, there's like a common theme where investors that are originally investing in Web2 start investing in Web3 nowadays, especially in Israel in the last year or two. I was wondering, how do you navigate this? How do you, as a Web3 company, how do you approach investors who are used to investing in Web2 companies? And also, just another small thing is, Tomer specifically, I would love to hear how you, what is your experience entering into an existing firm?
Yeah, so let Yaniv and Daniel answer from the founder side, from the investor side. So I advise traditional VCs to hire someone who is crypto native in order to start investing in Web3. It's very hard not to come from the industry and to navigate. From my personal experience, having said that, most of the challenges of Web3 founders are still the classic challenges of every founder that is trying to establish a new startup. And then the advantages of every traditional VC are still the same. it doesn't really matter. And as we said earlier, the crypto ecosystem is very open. You can get help and extra information almost from anyone, also from VCs that didn't invest in you, right? And even from competitors. So I still think that, you know, the value of traditional VCs hasn't really changed.
Well, I think this is true beyond crypto, but if the investor doesn't understand well what you're doing, it's probably not going to be a very fruitful relationship regardless. So I would kind of encourage everyone to try to find the investors that are have already invested the time to understand the space and the solution. That being said, if you are the type of company that needs to raise capital, I think there's a huge benefit in getting investors that have a strong background in Web2 or just kind of in startups in general. Because yeah, Tomer's right. Most of the problem are still around things that exist no matter what number you put after web. You know, it's people, it's recruiting, it's culture, product, community. But then again, crypto is this very, very chaotic world, and I think it is important to have people on your side that understand the nuances, so that every question or catch up doesn't need a 10-minute explanation about what a DAO is. Yeah.
And I also add, much as Lior said, I think that for every Web3 startup, the biggest success would be to onboard Web2 users, to engage with business and partnerships with Web2. This is still 99% of the market. So anyway, Web3 founders need to know the way in the Web2 ecosystem in traditional ways.
That is a question that relates to one of the questions from Zoom. That's the answer, sorry, that related to that. From Roy, looking at where Web3 is today, specifically today, what would convince the masses from Web2 to move to Web3? What are some of the things that you guys can think of to encourage that migration?
So I think new use cases, something that will provide like additional value on top of the current services that you have today. Ease of use, which is missing yet because we're building like the infrastructure, we're building everything by techies, for techies, but we're seeing a lot of progress there. And please, again, I'm a security guy, so security and reliability. I think that when someone from Web2 today, when they enter the space, they don't do it with really like with peace of mind. They do it, okay, there are risks, there are huge benefits, I'm in. I think that when you will have this peace of mind bundled with like the right user experience where no one will know that the underlying technology is blockchain, I think this will bring like the next billion users and even more.
Fantastic. We have 5 more minutes for questions. So we're going to go here and then I'm not going to choose. You just pass it on to someone from this side.
No, sure. Hi there. A very quick question regarding the future of crypto wallets. How do you see the future? Do you see kind of consolidation in the market? Do you think that brands, international brands, are going to push to launch for their own crypto wallets? Are we going to see a massive change in the features that are currently kind of not being offered?
I can just, answer quickly and maybe open it up for discussion. I think that wallets will be super apps. We will manage everything on them, and within everything that will be integrated with the blockchain infrastructure. So it could be our identity, financials, anything that we digitally own. So this is what I think. We don't have it today, but I think the future is I see a broad, I think that they will have very broad.
But do you see it as stuff, or is it going to be a bunch of different wallets? I think, is it going to consolidate into one mega wallet company, or are there going to be, a ton? So interested minds want to know.
Yeah, so also a good question. I'm not sure if there will be one company that will build this wallet, but yes, I agree. It might be look like some kind of a decentralized Gmail account integrated with many open source protocols and services that will support different aspects in our lives, online lives.
Learn about account abstraction. I think it will change. The way that wallets work. I think that today wallet is still like, this is one of the hard part in the user experience today. So I think that the next generation of wallet will introduce a better user experience, and we won't be aware that there is a wallet out there. Like when you're connecting today with Google, like you're not aware of everything that happens like behind the scenes, like you're using Auth0 or anything else. So I think we will see a lot of progress there, and there will be different use cases. But I'm a true believer in account abstraction, and we'll see. So
I think that the future depends on the super apps. Okay. Think about how many apps you have on your iPhone or Android. If you can push one button, one application that can be your super app for your all financial needs, that includes your bank account, okay, open banking, credit card spending, investing, etc., and reflect your crypto wallet inside, it would be great. You could take 5 or 6 apps into one super app. I think. Okay.
So Binance. No, I can't.
רק רגע, אני בודק אם זה בטוח. Hang on. Yeah. Anyone hear me? Hello, hello, hello.
So, hello.
Thank you.